I'm Steph Garcia Cichosz for AthleticDirectorU, and we are here in Kansas City at the Women Leaders Annual Convention, the first one in person since 2019. I'm joined today by Iowa Deputy AD and Chief Operating Officer Beth Goetz. Beth, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be with you this morning.
It's great to be at Women Leaders in person.
A few years have gone by, and you can tell the second you walk into the hotel, just the energy level, having everybody back together again. It's been great.
It's very inspiring, and we are certainly inspired by women like you. So thank you for being here. So you, former AD at Ball State and now over at Iowa, the biggest thing the ADs say is that they are going to go on a listening tour. Now that you're a deputy AD, what is your process going to be for learning the culture and your new teammates at Iowa?
Yeah, well, I think it's very similar, right? And that's part of the 30, 60, 90-day plan that I have with Gary is really to get to know the department. And so listening internally to staff, connecting with other campus leaders, and certainly those in the community and donors and those types of things. So looking forward to picking up as much as I can and starting to put all the puzzle pieces together.
Let's go a little bit wonky into the process. Do you have, maybe a standard set of questions or, metrics that you want to find out from, again, your new teammates at Iowa that you're going to kind of go about in your first 30, 60, 90 days?
Yeah, I probably do stick with some questions, but I think generally, my approach really is that if you're going to be successful, you've got to have a mix of a personal and professional relationship. So you've got to get to know them, what's important to them in their role, what their dreams are, what they're doing when they're not, when they're not supporting the Hawkeyes. And so it's a combination of understanding who they are and what they are passionate about, and then how that fits into their role. And at the end of the day, how do you support them in both of those areas?
Well, how then will you take that information and those personal connections and turn those into action items for the department?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because that's the key, right? How do you connect it from one place to the other? And I think at the end of the day, it's after you get to know everybody personally and understanding the priorities of the leadership and where you need to go, and then it's figuring out how to make sure that you insert yourself in a way that you can be a great teammate and serve them and serve the athletic director and campus at the same time.
How are you going to kind of clear the cache of what you knew about Ball State and the culture there and kind of start fresh with Iowa? We were kind of joking offline about, that you can't really wear any red when you're in the state of Iowa now. How are you going to kind of shift gears?
Yeah, I think emotionally, your tie is always to people, right? And so you invest in them and certainly an institution as a whole as a part of that. But I think as you build those relationships, that transition becomes easier. So there's only one way to do it, which is to dive in. And the first time you connect with a student athlete or a coach, you're all in and wanting them to be successful. And so, it happens so much faster than you even remember. And I've been fortunate to just have great experiences every stop along the way. And in 1 week, I can tell you Iowa's not going to be any different. So I just feel very fortunate to be a Hawkeye.
Well, when you were considering this position and going through the process, maybe the early days, how did you really evaluate that, hey, my values as an AD here at Ball State are going to be able to transfer to this position at Iowa and this community?
Yeah, and that's the right and first question. Not about what the job is or the role is or where it is necessarily, but how do you feel like you fit and connect to who they are and what they want to be? And I've had some opportunity to engage with Gary Barta, the athletic director, in the past during my time at Minnesota. So I certainly had a little bit of a relationship with him and knew the way in which he leads, the way he empowers his staff, and the way he works together with people. And then, it's part of it too was the right fit in terms of geographics. And I'm from the Midwest. I'm familiar with the Big Ten footprint. And I know the great history that Iowa has across the board, particularly in women's athletics, and just being at the forefront of that was all things that were really excited and aligned with what I wanted to do.
Do you have any, tricks or tips that you use for yourself when it comes to getting to know, again, your new teammates? There's a lot of people, a lot of new faces. When you walk in the door, are there any little things you do to kind of make those connections quickly?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is doing as much research as you can in advance. But I think it's, again, it's just being really authentic and genuine. You can't expect them to share everything about who they are if you're not going to try and meet them halfway. And then it's finding ways to demonstrate through action that you care and you're supportive and that you're going to empower them in their roles. And I think that's really critical because at the end of the day, they want to know you're as passionate about helping them get to where it is they're going to, whether it's a coach and the success of their program or administrator, who's trying to execute or grow their career. They want to know you're as passionate about where they're trying to go as they are.
Well, that shifts into my next question about mentorship. We're here at Women Leaders and we are surrounded by inspiring women. And I know that you have really given a lot of time and energy to mentoring or being there for other women in this industry. Who are your inspirations, your mentors that you look to?
Those are always difficult questions because I've been so fortunate to have so many champions, both men and women, who've helped me throughout my career. But just so many that have been helpful along the way. So, I saw Dr. Sue Willey, who was at UND. She was a great mentor to me. We actually weren't at the same institution, but I was a coach, a really young coach and administrator, and she sort of would pull me aside at conference meetings, put her arm around me, whether it's Diane Murphy, Alfreda Goff, all of these trailblazers are people that I had an opportunity to interact with along the way. Certainly had great athletic directors I had an opportunity to work with and other things. So just really fortunate. And it's important because people that sometimes weren't even in your path, like a Jim Phillips for me, who turned around and said, "Hey, look, I'm gonna give my time to support you and to encourage you to chase your dreams and provide you guidance." So really fortunate.
Well, on the flip side of that, it obviously takes a lot to pour into other people, your staff, people that you're mentoring, helping out. How do you balance those kinds of the desire to be there for folks, but also to kind of make sure your cup is filled?
Well, I think part of it is that fills your cup, right? Being able to see these young men and women be successful, and whether it's a student athlete you get to engage with or some of the rock star young professionals that we're seeing running around the conference here today. Oh, yeah. Being a part, even a small part of supporting their journey is really fulfilling. And I think it's a responsibility we have, but it would be disingenuous to say it's also not fulfilling for me personally.
Absolutely. Well, shifting back, you are, a week into your new role and, the move from Ball State to Iowa. On a human level, how do you balance kind of those personal things like, I need to find a house, I need to learn the neighborhood, what's my route going to be, with, of course, learning the dynamics of a new department, making sure your key card works, all of those things, and also just getting up to speed with the season, with everything that's going on.
Right. Well, the staff at Iowa has been tremendous, and so just helping me through some onboarding things has been incredible. But when you make a transition, there's a long personal list and that you go through, and so it's in some ways it's just at least it's a checklist that once you do item X, it's off. You can delete it, as opposed to the process of really onboarding and learning the culture. So, it's one of those things. I know you need to get through them, and you sort of work through that task. But I figure you're gonna land in the right place. You spend the time you need to get settled, and then that way you can really just move forward and focus on your role.
A lot of long lines at the DMV. That is going to be in your future.
That's right.
Well, last big question. What tips do you have for your fellow administrators, especially as we mentioned, those young ones moving up the ranks, taking their first senior leader roles, for kind of acclimating, again, both from a personal side, but also the professional side?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. Is one, you've always got to be open to what you can learn. It's not about what you bring to a role. It's about how your skill set fits into the overall priorities. And so I think that's a really exciting piece of it to get to mold your approach and your direction as you meet with new people. And so I think that part's really important. I think you don't have to have know all the answers right away. So don't be afraid to ask questions or to speak into a challenge, or to say, hey, wait, maybe I don't know enough yet to offer a thought. That's what you're there for. bring those opinions to the forefront. And, above all else, if you make the decisions to surround yourself with really good people that share your values, that are passionate about giving to young men and women at this time in their lives, then you're going to be successful. And so enjoy the moment, embrace the challenges you face, be optimistic in this time of, a lot of transition and questions about where college landscape is going. But if you just focus on the simple things that brought you to the profession in the first place, I think you're going to continue to feel really fulfilled.
I love it. Keep those human connections in place. Well, Beth, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
This transition. Again, just 1 week into the role, but I think you're already crushing it. So thank you so much for joining us, and hope that you enjoy the rest of this amazing conference.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.